Kidnapped, walking the scene with you in no flicks from the 90s. So keen, the VHS Club, they're the talk of the town. Breaking it down, spreading nostalgia all around. Moving and grooving to the synth-pop sound. Their insights so fresh, painting pictures profound. From Pulp Fiction to Clueless, they know it all. The genuine love for movies stands strong. Unfolding memories on that VHS screen, talking about classics like you've never seen. Katie with her charm, Matt with that wit. Together they make the VHS Club legit.
Welcome back to the VHS Club. Happy episode 80, which is very surreal for Nat
Really?
and I. Well, welcome and congrats to us. And huge welcome to Mike, who's hanging out with us this episode. We somehow tricked a native Woodstockian into joining us to talk all things Groundhog Day, and even some bonus behind the scenes walking tour of the actual film site. So it's a super special episode, and we are so excited that everyone is here. If you don't like Groundhog Day, you might want to peace out, because this might be a little bit of a love fest. just gonna phrase that up there. And Val, have you seen this one? This is our important Val question. Has Val seen Groundhog Day? This is our question. Well, Mike, welcome to the show. We're so glad you're here.
I am so incredibly excited to be here, Katie and Nat. I mean, look, I have so much stuff here ready to talk about Groundhog Day. I've got this week's edition of the Woodstock Independent, okay? We're talking about Groundhog Day. I blocked my microphone there. I've got the Groundhog Day walking tour map. I have got Phil Connors and Puxatawny Phil there, and
Oh my gosh!
of course I've got a copy of the movie. Right?
Wow!
You have to have a copy of the movie. So
you win. Like, round of applause.
I am ready to go.
You definitely win. I in my background I have like only my little woobles, which are like my crocheted stuffed animals, and I've been buying the ones that are movie themed, but I feel like it'd probably be easier to just buy the cool Funko characters instead, because they're so great. Yeah, the Funko Pops are awesome.
Oh, one more thing. An appropriate t-shirt.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
So
official merch.
So,
we might have to scour the
official
internet
merch.
to find some cool official merch, because when you were doing the walking tour earlier with us today, which we will show clips of, you walked right past the merch like store.
There was a storefront. I was like,
And Nat and I
ooh,
were
I
like,
like the
"Whoa."
baseball tee.
I happen to know somebody who, lives and works near Woodstock. So, if there's merch, you don't have to scour the internet.
Good. Yeah, we'll place an
Yes,
order
it's
with you
true.
after the show.
That's true.
Good news. This just in. Val has seen this movie, but it was years ago and she does not remember. So we will be reminding Val. And another vote for it being one of the favorite Murray movies. It's definitely my favorite Murray movie. He is just very, very Bill Murray in this. Well,
Totally Bill Murray.
let us dive in, because I'm sure we are totally going to go over time today. So, Nat, why don't you kick us off with your 1 to 2 liners on what the heck this movie is about for Val? Let's do it for Val.
A refresher for Val this time.
A refresher for Val, yeah.
So in this movie, we have Phil, who is a weather news reporter. He is going with the new producer on his show, Rita, played by the lovely Andy McDowell, to go to Puxatawny for Groundhog Day, where I think there's a committee, I believe. This is real life, by the way, which I learned today is outside of Puxatawny, there are many places, including Canada, that literally do Groundhog's Day, which is so cute. And I'm
Mike
very
is going to
excited.
correct us in all the accurate
Yes.
facts.
So in the movie, though it was filmed in Woodstock, it takes place in Puxatawny,
Yep.
Pennsylvania, which it is not even in the same state as far as it was being filmed. But anyways, so they go to Puxatawny for Groundhog Day, where these men in top hats and tails pull the rodent out of a tree stump. And if you see his shadow, it's an extra 6 weeks of winter. And if he doesn't see a shadow, it'll be an early spring.
You did it.
And that's it. So that's Groundhog Day. Well, and in the movie, he gets stuck on Groundhog's Day. So every day at 6 a.m., or every time the clock turns to 6 a.m., the day starts over.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes through this continuous loop, this process of Groundhog Day until he has this sort of redemption, this growth from being a total jackass to being a well-rounded, well-educated, emotionally intelligent human being. And he falls in love with Rita. And Rita finally falls in love with him.
Well
and
done.
That's the story.
Well, here's the first fact of the night, and this is why it's so great that Mike is hanging out with us. So, as you were saying, the film is about the real life city, Puxatawny, Pennsylvania, which is incredibly difficult to say. And as Paul is letting us know, before the film came out, that town would attract about 2,000 visitors on Groundhog Day. Nowadays, it's like 20 to 40,000 visitors that show up. But apparently the town is not charming. It's kind of an ugly town, and the team here did not want to film it there. So they scoured all over, and I think it was something like 60 different town visits that they did before they settled on Woodstock, which now has like all things Groundhog Day and has Woodstock Willie and is just a delightfully charming
They have their
place.
own groundhog.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful town. Katie and I did a walking tour today with Mike, and it's a gorgeous little town. And it's now on our travel list.
Oh my gosh. Well, all right, Mike. So how long have you been in Woodstock, and how many times do you think you've seen the Groundhog Day movie? I know you were saying that it actually wasn't as many times as you would have thought, or as that we would have guessed. So give us some history on Mike, Woodstock, and Groundhog Day.
Well, my wife and I joke that we must be true Woodstockians because we just have not seen the film enough. We first saw the film when it was released in the theaters in, what was it, 92?
Yep, 92. Not on Groundhog Day itself, which is wild, but still in February. Weirdly
Why
enough.
would they?
Yeah.
Why would they?
Yep.
But yeah, we actually saw it in the theater when it was first released. Loved the movie. Had a lot of fun during it. And I mentioned to you guys earlier, one of our favorite scenes was when Phil kidnaps the groundhog and goes tooling off in the pickup truck and, well, ends up unfortunately in the bottom of a quarry. But that part of the scene wasn't quite so fun. But that was one of our favorite scenes. And I just absolutely love that they had the real groundhog on Bill Murray's lap tooling down the road in this pickup truck. That is amazing.
Yeah.
But we moved to this area. We don't actually live in Woodstock. My business is based out of Woodstock.
Yeah.
And my wife's business is out of Woodstock. We moved to a town about 12 miles south. Mm-hmm. And one of the first weekend trips we took was to Woodstock. Not because it was where Groundhog Day was filmed, but just because it was a very pretty, picturesque town. And really enjoyed the town. And one of the things I said was, I would really love to have an office here someday. And that someday came in 2011. I had been working from home, my business, for about a year, and then had the opportunity to get office space in Woodstock. And I just loved it because it's on the second floor. It's got a beautiful vista of the park. When they do the homecoming parades and stuff, I can watch them. It's just a beautiful town, and it's very tourist friendly.
Yeah.
But there's just tourists from all over that come in almost every weekend throughout the year. And so when my wife was looking to open her shop, we said, well, Woodstock is really the only choice. That's where we're going to open the store, right in the square there. And it's just been great for both of us ever since. So that's kind of my history with it. Now, how many times have I seen Groundhog Day, including the time we saw it in the theater? Maybe 4 times.
So you're not
including
on
last
a
night.
repeat every 6 a.m.
No, I do have the DVD, but I do not keep the player on repeat.
What about you, Nat? How many times do you think you've seen it?
Well, when we were kids and you lived across the street, I think we watched it like at least twice a month. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Somewhere between 20 to 50 times.
I was gonna guess 20.
Yeah.
But it's been a while
But it's
since
been a
I
long
had watched
time.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did laugh out loud at this fact. So Paul is sharing fun facts for us in the chat. Paul says that Bill Murray was bitten by the groundhog twice during shooting and actually needed a course of rabies vaccines, which I know I should not laugh at, but I just immediately go back to, as Mike said, to the scene where he's driving with the groundhog. It's just so
On his
ridiculous. And
So-
you're gonna say this, Nat? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, tell us about the groundhog. Katie told me she looked up this fun fact about the movie and it's absolutely insane.
So-
it's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
This is my all-time favorite fact of probably any movie actually to date. Maybe there'll be one in the future that will get me more than this one, but I guess so. The producers and the team making this movie asked to borrow Puxatawny Phil for the filming of this movie, and Puxatawny was so angry as a city that they were not selected to be the filming location that they were like, absolutely not. So they sent their team out into the woods to find and catch a groundhog, like a random groundhog, which they did
From the
wild, and had this groundhog on set as the groundhog that's in the movie, and they named him Scooter. And I just everything about it makes me so happy. Like, no wonder Bill Murray was
So
bitten.
hence all the rabies shots, because it wasn't a domesticated groundhog. And I know Puxatawny Phil is supposed to be wild, but I'm like, he's pretty domesticated. Like all of these groundhogs throughout North America that partake in Groundhog Days, like they know what's coming. Like this happens every year. So and these creatures, they remember things. I was saying earlier to Mike, in my backyard, I have this groundhog who's been here for many, many years. He lives under my pool. It's an in-ground pool. He uses it. He does laps every summer. He tans on the patio. He's brazen. He's smart. He has no fear of me whatsoever. He's known me for like 20 years, and Katie and I named him Bob a few
I know
years
we should
back.
rename him Scooter because it's a much better name.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Well,
but I feel bad changing his name after like 20 years.
I'm glad you mentioned Scooter because that was one of the things I took notes on. I was going to ask if you knew the groundhog's name.
Scooter.
The actor's name.
Yes.
It was
This
Scooter.
poor groundhog, unpaid actor.
Actors,
Well,
like,
you don't know. Unions are pretty strong for groundhogs.
Yeah, I mean, maybe
Oh.
somebody kept him after filming. Like, did they re-release him into the wild after? Like, how long was he on set?
I have no idea, but I was
Oh,
like,
it's
wow.
crazy.
At least until the quarry scene,
At least,
Yeah.
and then perhaps
Which-
not after that.
I know it's pretty. So the movie at first,
it's pretty dark.
Phil, the human Phil, is a complete jackass at best.
At best, yeah.
And he, when the days are repeating, he just gets mad and angry. He takes it out on everybody in the town, and he doesn't care because he knows the day's going to start over. So like he joyrides drunk and smashes a bunch of things up, including a post box, which I think is a federal offense. Correct
He
me if I'm
doesn't care.
wrong.
It
but,
is.
but he doesn't care because the day is going to start over at 6 a.m. And
Right.
one scene he finally snaps and he's like, somebody needs to take care of this groundhog, and that somebody's me. So then he goes and kidnaps the groundhog after the ceremony, speeding away down the highway in the truck, gets to the quarry, and then Thelma and Louise's himself with Phil, or Phil and Phil's
Phil and Phil.
themselves.
Phil and Scooter
Like,
Phil.
And it's dark, but that was pretty funny. And then it gets darker because then when he realizes he's not even going to die, he just keeps committing suicide for a small period.
Yeah.
But then it
The-
gets into my favorite part, which is the hobbies era of the pandemic. Like of lockdown,
Yeah.
like where he like picks up, he learns how to play the piano, he takes up ice sculpture, he gets an MD, like he becomes a medical doctor, like he does everything.
Honorary.
So this is
Yeah,
my
well, they,
my
So
he
says.
says that as a joke, but it seems like he's actually an MD.
So this is my question to both of you. We'll start with Mike and then go to Nat. If you were caught in this like perpetual Groundhog Day, what do you think you would do? I kept watching this being like, what, like how would I react in this kind of situation? Like, what do you think it's accurate to what you would do? What would you learn? Would you learn anything? What do you think, Mike?
Wow, that is
Sorry,
a great
deep
question.
questions tonight. Deep questions.
Okay. Can I?
Does it take place in 92 or now?
I don't know. Maybe let's take it outside now because now is a little bit of a weird time. So if you could do,
Well,
yeah, let's do 92. We'll in 92 when,
like, is there internet access or no?
yeah, let's say there's
It's-
no
it's
internet
more what
access.
no
Let's-
internet,
Let's
okay,
be back in
okay.
92.
Well, okay.
We've changed Mike's answer.
It was about an hour. It was about so. I'm really weird, and I was watching the movie last night, and I was actually writing down the timestamps when there were notable moments throughout
Oh,
the
I love
movie.
it. Yeah.
And it was right around an hour into it when the reliving the days started to wear on Phil,
Yeah.
right? And that's when he started to get really nasty and insulting people and insulting the groundhog on air and all this kind of stuff. And if I can take this on a slight tangent, which I want to do,
Yeah. Go for it.
I had a thought, and I don't know if anyone's ever mentioned this before, and maybe it's because I watch too much Star Trek, but
Safe space here for
I
that.
wondered. So here's Phil reliving the days, right? He's
Yep.
reliving the day every day, 6 a.m., the day resets. And yet the day is different for him
Yep.
every time. It's not an exact repeat of the day that he lived before. And so I started wondering as I'm watching the movie, what happens to the lives of those that he interacts with throughout that day? And I wondered if Phil was not at the nexus point of some like Groundhog Day multiverse where actions have consequences,
Yeah.
but only in their own timeline. And every time he wakes up in the morning, there's a new timeline, a new multiverse is created every day at 6 a.m.
It makes
And
sense
Yeah.
These
for the
lives
movie.
keep living on. And then I started feeling bad for the people that he's insulting and for the people watching the news, because I'm like, well, they got to live their lives, and they got to deal with the fact that Phil Connors was insulting him on air or whatever. Okay, what would I do? I probably wouldn't do that. I guess if I knew I was caught in a time loop, if I knew that I had the opportunity to every day learn just a little bit more to work myself towards perfecting some skill, I probably would do that. Maybe I would pick up programming again.
Yeah.
I used to do quite a bit of programming in the 80s. Back in the 80s, I used to do quite a bit of programming and up until maybe the 90s. But then I kind of diverged, and what I do now is more web development work, which is programming to an extent, but it's not programming like I used to do. So maybe I would do that. Maybe I would take the time to learn a new skill. Maybe I'd finally figure out how to get my 3D printer to work properly. I don't know. It's. I think that's what I would do, though. But I do feel as if it would start to wear on me.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Knowing that the others in my life are not going to remember the things that happen in any single day is a pretty depressing thought, and no wonder Phil went through these cycles of depression. And then
Yeah.
started challenging himself, right? The first challenge was Nancy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was his first challenge. Could he date her? Could he
Not a for
through
good challenge,
Yeah,
but
could he
no,
sleep with
no,
her?
not a good challenge. No, not at
No.
all. In fact, his first efforts with Rita were very self-serving.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, it was almost a game to him. It
Yeah.
wasn't. He didn't see it as a potential romantic relationship. He saw it as some sort of game to win, a conquest of some
Yeah.
sort. No matter who he robbing the I was going to say Brinks truck. I don't know what brand.
Yeah. I
truck
think it was
but,
actually
you
a
know,
Brinks
robbing
truck.
the truck.
A money truck.
it, everything built up day after day after day, learning what the people's habits and what their likes and dislikes were, and what the timeline of the woman approaching the I keep wanting to say money drivers. That's not
Yeah.
right. But gosh, I think it would start to wear on me. So his redemption phase is really where the movie kicks in for me.
Yeah.
Same.
I don't see it as a romantic comedy. There is romance in it, and ultimately they do end up together. But the redemption
Yeah.
and like the search for meaning
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
life
his personal growth is really what the movie's about. The romance,
is what the movie's about.
yeah, is not necessarily like he didn't even need to end up with Rita in the end
No.
for the movie to be successful. Like
He-
it wasn't that.
He actually so this movie is based on a book, and in the book and in the original screenplay he doesn't end up with Rita. It's actually not about like her at all, really, but
No.
there is a moment where it's funny you said multiverses, I guess, and I'm probably going to butcher this, but I guess in the book and in the original screenplay he's in this loop, and I guess like in trying to, I don't know exactly what his interaction with her is, but in interacting with her he sets her into her own loop, so there's actually two kind of loops
Oh.
running
Oh, wow.
simultaneously, so kind of that multiverse sort of theory. And not surprisingly, when Harold Ramis got this, he was like, oh, this is just too confusing, we need to add a little bit more humor into this and take it
Yeah.
into more of a mainstream space. But I will say, I think you raised a really good point. I actually, in addition to just loving this movie growing up, I did a class at McGill all about world religions, and this movie was played in when we were discussing Buddhism, because there are a lot of principles
Yeah.
that overlap, and I again, I don't remember the exact
In reincarnation.
yeah, and I don't remember the exact like amount of time, but somewhere within the Buddhist faith, they have a belief that like you need to live for like thousands of years in order to be able to like fully be able to
become
kind
a functioning human?
Yeah, because you have to become a functioning human to like
To become a real boy.
to really kind of find yourself and to be able to like really be like a good part of society. So I think
Yeah.
it is interesting, and we're running a poll right now for those who are hanging out in our live studio audience to find out what you think. How many years do you think Phil spent reliving Groundhog Day?
Ooh.
So is
I
it
researched that.
1 to 5? Don't give away the answer.
Yes.
Is it 1 to 5?
Yeah, I
No,
looked
I
at
won't.
the
to
answer and I'm
10?
like, I'm not telling Katie.
10 to 15 or 15 plus, and it looks like most people think it was either 1 to 5 or 15 plus. So yeah, I don't know. Nat, what about you? What would you do in your endless stay in your
Yeah, so
unspecified amount of time?
the reason
day?
I asked about internet, and Doc had pointed out in the live audience, there was, yes, internet in
Fine, there was
1992, but
internet.
I don't mean like 28.8 here. I mean like online classes in university, because you're stuck in one town, right? So anyway, it does imply that he goes to school, but yeah, I think I would do that part of definitely not the offing myself
mean-spirited
phase.
parts. Yeah.
But I would definitely do the in my pajamas everyday phase, and because that's comfy, and why not? At least for a while. And yeah, definitely learn new things. I mean, that's kind of what we all kind of had an experience like this during the earlier days of the pandemic, when we were all in lockdown for a bit. And everybody's like, oh my God, what do I do? And it's like, yeah, a lot of people picked up hobbies because it was, we had the time without a commute. You had a lot of extra hours in your hands. So I would definitely take time to do more of my hobbies and probably pick up another language or two or five,
Oh,
depending how
that's
many years
good.
I'm stuck in it, you know? So yeah, my guess for how long he was in there, because I believe once the unhoused man had passed away and it really affected him.
Mm.
And then I think when they say later in the movie, like, oh, doctor, doctor, and he's like, oh, honorary. I think he was being a little tongue in cheek because he does, like, again, Rita doesn't know that he's been there for X number of
Mhm.
years. So I'm like, well, if he went to med school, that's minimum like 17 years so
Right.
of education. So it's like my guess is like around the 15 to 20-year range for how long he was there.
It's a good guess. Well,
Well,
we
there's an
will.
official answer.
Yeah, we will disclose it. Let's give
There
a
is
little
an
bit.
official
We'll give a
answer.
little bit
Yeah.
more time. I'm gonna jump over because I know we have these great clips I want to be able to share, and I want to get through all of them.
Yes.
So we did an earlier recording of a walkthrough so that it wasn't dark of Woodstock.
Right.
So we're gonna go over to Gobbler's Knob really quickly here, and then we'll come back. But we'll see you in a couple minutes.
Awesome.
So this is generally Gobbler's Knob, right? So what we've got is do you want me to point while I'm doing this?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, that's the
So-
stage.
This is the bandstand.
The bandstand, my bad.
This is the bandstand where they had the dance scene. Okay, so this is a little out of order. You guys have to know that this is going to be out of order. I
That's
did
okay.
watch the movie last night.
You're right.
I ended about 2 a.m.
Oh no.
And let's see if I can get this down here. This is a plaque marking Gobbler's Knob from the film
Ah!
Groundhog Day.
Check. All right, we've done it. Stop number
Right.
1, Gobbler's Knob.
So, now I have to get back up this way again. All right, here we
So
go.
do you all
So-
call it Gobbler's Knob, or is that only for the movie?
No, this is the Woodstock Square Park.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So this is kind of a traditional home square, right?
Mhm.
We'll talk about the Opera House in just a moment here, but it is literally a square, right? So we go around.
I'm such a city slicker. I'm like, this is so cool. It looks like it's from a movie.
It is.
It's also
is.
real life though, which is
This is the
super amazing.
old courthouse. It's now the old courthouse center. The Woodstock Chamber of Commerce is in there. To the right of it is the sheriff's house, and there's a actual jail and jail cells down in the basement of that. But the courthouse is just absolutely beautiful, and
It
they
is.
recently remodeled it. So you may notice in the movie that it has a white dome on it,
Oh yeah.
and that white dome was wood.
Oh
This
wow.
is now a copper dome.
Much
on it.
better.
They just finished this, much to the chagrin of some taxpayers in Woodstock. They recently finished this, and
Quite pricey. In Montreal,
it-
we have a lot of copper roofed churches. It's very expensive, but
It-
it lasts a long time.
Mhm.
that was the point. That was
Yeah.
the point. Is it's going to last a long time,
Good
and
choice.
yeah, exactly. And it's going to last, probably another 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
So this area that you're looking at right here is generally where Gobbler's Knob was. So the stage where they pulled the groundhog out of the stump, and where they had the where he was doing his report from, where Phil was doing his report,
Yeah.
that was all done right in this area right here.
Wow.
Okay, so that's why the plaque, which is right about there, is pointing out Gobbler's Knob, because that's where this was here.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I will say it was so much fun, Mike, because you took us to all these different sites. There was like I think 15 of them on the map. I think so. Here's the map. I think you hit almost all of them. But I was so excited. I was super behind today, so I actually didn't get to watch like most of the movie again until after you had given us this tour. So it was actually really nice to get to like see this actual places. And then I was watching it. I was like, oh, I have the photo of that. It was really, it
I'm
was
like,
really
oh,
neat.
there's the alley and the bowling alley and the cafe, the puddle.
the puddle.
The
yeah.
puddle. Yep.
The puddle. Yeah, absolutely. So
I would have loved to take you up to the Cherry Tree Inn, where
Yeah,
Phil
where Phil
stayed every
stays.
night. it's a little bit of a walk. I didn't know if we had enough time to walk up there. So next time,
Next time.
if we're going to do Groundhog Day again and again and again, then, we'll go
We
up to Cherry
should.
Tree Inn next time.
Yes.
Well,
It was a really beautiful
I'm not
house.
alone. Comments of, oh no, now we've got to go back and rewatch this right now. Yeah, we'll see all the sites, and then you can pause it and rewatch it because it was really neat. The cool thing about Woodstock, I mean, there were a bunch of things actually, and I'm sure Mike could probably speak endlessly about how awesome this town is, but what was neat is they like a lot of the sites. So again, like 15 spots. Like this town is incredibly charming, and they picked it specifically for how charming it is. And it's neat and kind of a really great testament to the town that they have kept everything, and put these adorable little plaques up and put. So yeah, it's really sweet that they just embraced it and that it's still, kind of has the same vibe and feel. Obviously, some of the businesses are like, different businesses than what they were in the movie, obviously. But
Sure.
But in general,
There were some real businesses in the background. Ned's Corner, you'll see in the background Lloyd's Paint and Paper, and that was a real business until they retired. And then there are a few other Woodstock businesses that you see, and then some that are fake signs. They've actually filmed a couple different television shows in Woodstock. The Super Bowl commercial for Groundhog Day was filmed in Woodstock again. That was great because Bill Murray and Stephen Tobolowsky came back for that.
Yeah.
And they recreated a lot of the scenes from the movie, including the groundhog scene.
Yeah.
Or in the car, groundhog scene in the car, just for the Jeep commercial. So yeah, they really do film a lot there. And Restaurant Impossible, we had a Restaurant Impossible there. So a lot of neat stuff that happens in Woodstock. Yeah.
Well, I think I'm with you, Mike. I think my favorite scene is probably the driving with the groundhog. And I do also, as morbid as it is, I love when it goes off the cliff and it's upside down. And they're like maybe he's
okay.
fine. And then it lights on fire and he's like, or not, or maybe not. He's
or
not.
not.
Or not. Just something about the timing of that line is just absolutely fantastic. Nat, do you have a different favorite scene, or is it same for you?
No, I think
we have to
that's
point
about
out
it.
no animals were harmed in the making of this motion
Yeah.
Scooter is okay.
Yeah.
He's okay.
Scooter's okay.
He's okay.
The one scene
Sorry.
to go with, like, how with Mike's point about the multiverse, I think it's his third day. He jumps out of bed. He runs straight out of the inn. He bolts down the street to the main square and bumps into Ned, even though it would be earlier than it was the previous day.
Yeah.
And the bit is that he keeps bumping into Ned on that corner every day, except it would have been a different time. So it seems that, and that's something I noticed watching it. I was like, how is that possible? Something's different. So it's not exactly the same day.
And he's
you're
obviously
overthinking it.
Yeah, that's what we do. We overthink it. But you're right. Like he is obviously spending time with each one of these characters, right? Because by like the end, when he finally breaks this curse and like the kind of
He knows the whole
his
town.
last official day, he knows every single person in the town, but they also know him. And if you think about it, he's only spent a day with them in their experience, right? So he clearly like has spent enough time with them each day to be able to do that. So yeah, like what if he's playing piano, for example, and doing a piano lesson, then he's not maybe bumping into Ned or doing other. So I think it is an interesting point, Mike. I think you are right. Like, what are the characters doing? Because they may not be doing what they were on repeat, like through all those moments, right?
Well, and along those lines, this is probably only something that I would notice because I'm there every day. But in the final meetup with Ned on a corner, it's not at Ned's corner.
Oh.
It's on the complete opposite
I
side
didn't
of the
notice that.
square. It is where the Starbucks is now, which is kitty corner. Kitty corner?
Yeah.
It's the direct
the cross,
opposite corner of the square from Ned's corner.
Oh, I'm gonna have to rewatch it now.
Yeah.
Or at least that end part. Yeah, that is interesting. I have to admit, I don't know if either of you picked up on this as well or had this thought, I guess, but as he starts kind of as the movie gets to the point where he's trying to to date Rita, like he's trying to like learn about her, and you kind
Seriously
of like
date
it
her.
keeps it
Yeah.
keeps like restarting, right? And like in those moments, I just had this moment of being like, wow, this would be actually a very difficult movie to act in, because typically in a movie you're memorizing all of these lines, right? But in this, he's like, she's saying the same lines over and over again, but with the same general, like she's got to keep it sounding almost identical as to how she did the line, which is already difficult. But then he has to be reacting completely differently. But then like, so the timing of it would be so difficult, because you don't have like, she's giving him the same cue, but he has to know that it's a different cue. Like I just had this moment of watching it being like, wow, like this scene is incredibly fun to watch. And it's also would be so difficult to act, especially from someone like Bill Murray, who is renowned for being crazy. Like you're lucky if he shows up at all. Like he's curmudgeon-y. He does what he wants.
Yeah.
So like it's actually a pretty like amazing showing from him, and certainly for all the actors around him as well.
Well, I feel like Harold Ramis was his friend. Like they were in Ghostbusters together. They worked a couple of times
They were
together.
frenemies. They had a pretty big falling out. They actually didn't
Oh, did
talk
they?
until like right before Ramis died. So yeah, they were.
Well, I feel like he's like the sort of word, the whispers are he's allegedly not a great person.
Yeah.
Like he's in real life like Phil is at the beginning of the movie. So it doesn't super surprise me, but I do appreciate his body of work very much, especially this movie.
Yeah, I
I
like all the movies.
I was going to ask if you mind if I cross the streams here a little bit, and
Go
then you
for it.
brought up the Ghostbusters
Yeah.
reference, because after Phil attempts to off himself, and we only see 3 attempts,
Yeah.
mind you, and he rattles off
lists them
verbally how many different methods he attempted to take his life to end the cycle of reliving the day.
Yeah.
He says to Rita in the Tip Top Cafe, "I'm a god."
Yeah.
And he tries to explain to her. Now, perhaps this ties into your Buddhism reference, Katie, but I'm a god, and he tries to explain why he feels this way, and then attempts to prove to her by demonstrating what's going to happen time and time again in the few minutes that they're there in the restaurant. But did anyone else think, as I did, when he said, "I'm a god," if someone asks if you're a god, say yes? That's a Ghostbusters reference.
That is a Ghostbusters. I did not catch that. It's been a while
that
since
was
I've
what
seen the OG Ghostbusters.
That was what I thought of.
I did
My
immediately
brain
think of
immediately went to,
Ghostbusters.
if someone asks if you're a god, say yes.
I love it.
but
Well,
yes.
so we actually we are reviewing Ghostbusters, and not next week, but the following week. So we'll have to
I look forward
cross
to
the
that
streams
one.
and throw back to throw back to this one. Well, should we go over to dealer's choice? Should we go to Old Man Alley next, or the Puddle and Ned's Corner?
Ooh, your call.
What do you think, Nat?
The alley. Let's go to
Alley.
Old Man Alley.
All right, we're heading over to the alley. Everyone ready? Here we go.
Where Mike gets
This is
arrested.
Old Man Alley right here. And
No old
honestly,
men there today.
no old men there today. There is a pumpkin on the.
I was gonna say it's very clean.
It's a very
Like,
clean alley. Yeah,
Again, live in a city. This is
never that clean. Yeah.
polished.
I will admit that I thought long and hard about the alleys in Woodstock, and I think that might be the only one. I
Wow.
There's
don't
just the one. Yeah.
think there are any more alleys in Woodstock.
That's so funny.
Okay, so after he leaves the hotel, 6 a.m., alarm clock goes off, he comes into town. Phil walks around the corner here, and right here, this is Ned's Corner. This is, there we go,
We did it. Ned's Corner. Groundhog Day movie. I love
Ned's
it.
Corner, Groundhog Day movie. So interesting thing about that is, Ned comes from over here. This did not appear to be here. This planter area. I don't think that was there when they filmed the movie. But Ned came this way
Yeah.
and met Phil over here at the corner. The old man was here. He was standing right here. and Phil was here. And this is where Ned came up, and am I right? Am I right? Am I right?
He's so
right.
wonderful at being annoying. That actor just does an amazing job.
Like they have
And,
merch in the corner.
I know. I'm like, oh, I want to buy some merch.
So the other interesting thing about this is now, today, this is one way. It's one way this way.
Uh-huh.
But if you notice in the movie, cars are just pouring into the square
no, you're right.
from this direction.
It's a little narrow, but
And
it looks like
that
they
just
added
seems
those.
so weird to me.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
looks like the trees and the curbs are like they
Newer,
extended it to make it a bit newer. So it's small. It looks smaller
think you're
now
right.
than I think it
Yeah,
was.
because
The trees are small.
this
Like that little guy.
none of this was here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is how Ned came up to him, was from here.
Yeah.
I love the plaques in your town. I feel like I would spend all my time just wandering around taking like endless photos of the plaques. They're fantastic.
Funny,
You
I
would not
just
be the only one.
I just noticed in the footage we just showed there was a truck parking, and it was a red truck, like the one that Phil stole with the groundhog. It was a red
Perfect.
truck. Different truck, different
Could have
years,
been in there.
but
You never know.
We timed it well.
Scooter
Well, I
lives.
think you have as we said on the video, you have definitely the cleanest alley I have ever seen.
yeah. Weird.
Absolutely spotless. Well, it's let's fly into the puddle. We're good to fly into the puddle next?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna shoot on over there.
So Mary's Mexican Grill right here is what was the Tip Top Cafe.
Tip Top Cafe, yeah.
And actually, much of this is pretty much the same as it was. I mean, if you
Yeah.
look in there, I don't want to disturb them while they're serving lunch and stuff, but
Yeah.
this is, and people are eating, but the doors are still in the same location.
Yeah.
This is the front windows of it. They had blinds in the windows
Yeah.
when they were filming, but they did appear to literally film within the restaurant because you can see Main Street
Yeah.
from the windows as they're filming in there.
Yeah, I'm looking at
And
the
there
photo.
is
Yeah.
there is the back exit in the back there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So,
Well, it looks like a fun place, Mary.
Yeah. And another plaque. I love that this town has just owned it. It's amazing. Oh, that one's a little hard to
See
read.
that?
It says it's
Okay.
movie. It's got a footprint. What else does it say?
yeah, it is. Movie, Groundhog Day, 1992. This is Bill Murray stepped here. Right here.
Wow.
Right there.
I love it.
Again, this planter was not here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is where the hole would have been roughly right here.
Uh-huh.
My gimbal keeps wanting to straighten up again. There we go. It would have been roughly here.
Yeah.
And I was amazed by how deep that puddle was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy deep.
I guess they really wanted the impact of it. They wanted to make sure you really knew.
The impact of it. Maybe they had to put the planter there to
Yeah.
to fill in that hole. I don't know.
I'm still laughing. I rewatching it again tonight. I like that puddle is deep. He would have lost a leg going through that.
Huge.
Like
It's up to
that-
his shin.
Yeah.
That's like a typical downtown Montreal puddle, to be honest. It's smaller in circumference, but about the right depth. Yeah, we have a lot of potholes.
Don't go walking around. Well,
We're known for that in Quebec, having really bad roadworks.
all right. Well,
famous for it.
I'm officially ending our poll. So it looks like we're sitting at 43% of viewers think that it is 1 to 5 years that Phil is reliving Groundhog Day. And 43%, so equal to a tie, think it's 15 plus years. And 14% of you think it's 5 to 10 years. All right, Nat, do you have the total for us?
Yes. Well, I Googled it, and there's also a whole bunch of subreddits, and the estimate is it's approximately 33 years.
33
Yeah.
years.
And people so AI has compiled off of the internet that it's about 33 years from what other people are saying, and it seems in the subreddits that everybody does agree he went to med school, so that's at least 15 to 17 years right off the bat.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. Yeah, I don't know what I would have
Imagine
I don't know what I would have done. I thought
it
about
took
it a
him
lot.
that long to grow up.
I can't figure it out. I feel like I probably would have been the person talking to every single like individual person, like maybe up front to try to get all the facts to get someone else to believe me that this was happening, like what he did. But then I think getting to know or figuring out information about people would become a bit of a game. I feel like that is the space I would be in, at least initially as a game, and then I'm sure after time getting to know people.
Yeah.
Just getting to know people would be fun, but yeah,
It seems
it's
like
wild.
when he found himself, when he got comfortable with himself and had confidence in himself, just being who he is openly, not having a facade, not putting up walls, not, being the jackass, not hustling for anything. When he was confident with himself and comfortable with himself is when the cycle broke.
Mhm.
So I just think it's amazing that he was like, what, a 30-something-year-old man, and it took him another 30-something years. It's like, oh no, Phil.
63
But I'm
is when
happy
we
he
become
did it.
real people. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm happy he got there
I'm
because
happy he
it
got
was a
there.
really sweet ending, and it was that last scene at the hotel where there's the party and everybody just appreciates his time and he appreciates other people and his kindness towards others, and it was just really nice that that's how it ended. Like that's
Yeah.
what broke the cycle,
Yeah, I agree.
and that's when Rita finally liked him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as you're noticing, the hotel bar party scene, which I mentioned to you guys earlier, I don't know if you're going to show this clip from our
I
walk
can't
or
remember.
not,
Yeah.
but
Repeat it
they
anyway.
they were filmed in 3 different locations, even though they were all supposed to be within the Pennsylvanian hotel.
Yep.
So the bar is actually in the basement restaurant of the old courthouse. The dance slash auction scene was in the Moose Lodge in Woodstock, the Woodstock Moose Lodge, and then there's the Opera House too. So yeah, there's 3 different places all stood in for one.
That one.
Yeah, I don't think I actually I don't think I clipped this properly, so maybe we'll have to show it. We'll have to release this as like a YouTube short later for people to see. But you were pointing out when we were doing the walking tour earlier that the Opera House is acting as the hotel. So that is not, there is no,
Correct.
there is
Yeah.
no hotel right there on the square. That is a different space. It is a really cool space. So you can see why they would fake it and make it look like a hotel. But yeah, obviously they would have no spot for a hotel bar because it wasn't a hotel. So
The B&B is real though.
yeah.
Where
Yeah.
he was staying, that's real.
As a
And,
tourist, that's important because that's exactly where I would want to
Yeah,
stay.
exactly.
It was
That's where we'll be staying
really
when we come to
cute. Like I love a good B&B. The outside of the house was beautiful. Like if I'm booking and looking for something, I would be like, yes, please, there, click. Here's my
And
reservation.
if you want to book it Groundhog Day weekend, start
Oh,
booking
God.
it now.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe book it 2 or 3 years out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I'm like, it's probably already full for next year.
I don't know if I'm
Yeah,
that
probably,
daring.
yeah.
I might, maybe I'll book. We'll book for like a couple weeks after Groundhog Day, so we can
I mean,
have a
it
quieter
would
experience.
be something to go for Groundhog Day, though.
It would be something. How many people do you
Yeah.
think actually come into Woodstock for Groundhog Day? Do you have estimates?
They estimated about 5,000.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy. What's the population of the town?
25,000. So
So,
Yeah.
I mean, at least it's not like
Crazy.
tripling the population or something super over the
Isn't
board.
Puxat-
no, it's
I
not
looked
that.
up-
What did you say? 30,000 or something? to
Puxatawny, I think
Yeah.
they said their population is like 5,600 and they have 40,000 people for this year. They had 40,000 people. That's crazy. Like a population of like under 6,000 to 40,000 people there just for that. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, good for them. Back in 1886 when they decided to do this excellent marketing plan.
Yeah. Yeah. This is an interesting fact coming in from Paul. So Paul is saying that while Phil is trying to make a long distance phone call from a gas station, he is hit on the head with a snow shovel at the 1705 mark. And it's possible that this is what caused the time loop to start. So I did read a few
head
different
injury.
a head injury.
Interesting.
Makes sense.
TBI.
I did read actually a few different like articles that basically said that the team, and particularly Harold Ramis, didn't want to give an explanation. It was just like he wanted this kind of open dialogue to be possible for people as they were watching it. Like, why is he trapped in this? We don't really
Was
know.
it just a
Is he
concussion?
gonna get out? We don't really know. Like, so I'm glad that they didn't totally define it. I think that makes a really
No, I think it would have been weird if they explained it. It would have been like, oh, I'm like, just that's something that you don't need to explain.
What you didn't see, guys, is in the outtakes, the deleted
I didn't get to
scenes.
watch the deleted
He wakes
scenes,
up
shoot.
in bed
Yeah.
the next morning with Suzanne Plachette. That's
Oh, that's awesome. I need to find some deleted scenes and go back and watch them.
It'll probably be on. I'm sure we could find them on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, YouTube's pretty good for for that.
Well, but yeah, there you go. And yeah, and the
Or
DVD
the
copy.
DVD. Yes.
I must have the DVD copy. I'm still in the process of putting them all back on
Absolutely.
shelves so I can actually pull them out and watch them versus just watching it on Amazon Prime.
When we lived together, you definitely had it on DVD.
Yeah, I must have it.
So if you
unless my-
still have it.
unless my brother, I did not get rid of any, so unless my brother stole it from me, it's around somewhere.
He did take a whole bunch one time. Yeah.
Siblings.
Mhm.
All right, well let's
Spud.
let's jump over to the Alpine. You ready to go?
Oh, sure.
Here we go. It's the
So-
Alpine Theater.
That is what was the Alpine Theater in the movie. Yep, right there.
Oh wow.
It's
I
Oh,
like the
there-
marquee.
I was
It's
going to
really
say it's got a
cute.
marquee. Yeah, love it.
So here's some interesting facts about the Alpine Theater. I knew that at one time there was a theater here called the Princess, and
name.
that was way back in the early 1900s. What I thought was that this was the Princess. I thought that the Princess became this, but that's not what happened. I learned last night, right? I swore this was the Princess Theater. It is not.
Yeah.
In 1911, they tore down the Princess. And then in
Oh.
1928, this was rebuilt as the Miller Theater, which was also a theater and vaudevillian stage.
Oh, fun.
That's
Yeah.
so much fun.
I love
And
that
there
you were
was-
amply researching. Appreciate it.
There was apparently another theater next to it, which I
Oh.
didn't know that either. And at some point, maybe 50, 60 years ago, they took that over and put some more screens in it.
Mhm.
Now, the interesting thing is that these are all facades. This is not,
Yeah.
these are not real buildings here. The buildings that were here were, there were a couple buildings here. There's the alleyway down there, which we'll get to in a moment. But the buildings that were here were raised, they were taken down, and the theater expanded all the way down here.
Oh, wow.
And around the time that they expanded, they were doing major reconstruction work on the inside and realized that the main theater, Theater One, was actually divided in half at some point. And so they got rid of that division. They opened up the ceiling and they uncovered this beautiful dome ceiling
Oh,
inside there.
Wow.
awesome.
And they restored the ceiling. And while they were restoring the ceiling, they also realized that there were some wall sconces, beautiful wall sconces, that were stored in the basement of the Opera House. So they
Oh.
brought those sconces back here, reinstalled them on the walls, and also used them as molds to make reproductions where they
Oh,
didn't have enough to
cool.
complete the walls. So I was lucky enough to get a tour of this while it was under construction. I have some photos of that from 2012
Oh,
was when they
cool.
did that. And yeah, it was
That's so
pretty cool.
neat.
This marquee that you see here
Yeah.
was actually added in 1991.
Oh, like right
So
before.
one year prior to it becoming the Alpine for the movie.
So, do they do any cool Groundhog Day events at the Alpine Theater? So it's like a theater
my gosh.
theater, not a movie theater.
It's a movie theater.
Is it
It's
a movie theater? Okay. All right. I was
Oh,
looking at
yeah.
the photos inside
Yep,
that you
yep.
had sent, so I wasn't quite sure. But
So So Classic Cinemas is a regional company, small family-owned company that buys up these old theaters and refurbishes them
Oh,
and brings them back to life, if you will.
love that.
And they have these amazing prices on the tickets. I think the last time I went to a movie, there was like $6 a ticket.
Perfect.
It's great. They have refills on popcorn and soda and all this stuff. It's
Like
just a wonderful
not since
family-owned
the 90s.
organization.
Yeah, yeah.
What do
Yeah,
you mean
no,
$6? It's like $20 for a
it's
movie
like $6
ticket
a
here.
ticket.
Yeah.
And maybe it's 7 now. I don't know what it is now,
It's
but
moving up.
It's under
very
20.
very reasonable, very reasonable. And
Wow.
that's part of the point is to go in, refurbish these theaters, and this is now one of the Classic Cinema theaters, and they do just a wonderful job. Great family-owned business. Number of theaters in the whole Chicago area are all redone, possibly in Wisconsin too. I'm
Oh,
not
that's
sure,
really nice.
but yeah, fantastic folks that
That
run
is
that.
so cool.
Yeah.
That's one thing I wish was
Oh,
in my
so
town was a tiny theater.
I didn't answer your question.
Go for it.
Yes, they show Groundhog Day the movie all weekend long.
Good.
So
I
Groundhog
would hope
Day
so.
is
but-
it's not a day in Woodstock. Groundhog Day is a weekend event. So it's
I
a
was gonna say,
4-day
is it like a
event.
month?
Well, they start playing the polka music in the bandstand like a month ago. You know, they keep all the Christmas
Amazing.
lights up and stuff. So the polka music was still playing yesterday. I didn't hear it today when we were walking around, but it was
That's
still
true.
playing yesterday. And this year for the first time they had a 5K run. The 5K took
Oh.
the folks around all the sites from the movie. And there were actually a couple runners dressed as Ned with briefcases running.
I love
It was
runners
it was
are
pretty
unhinged. I
amazing.
love them.
Pretty
This
amazing.
is the kind of
But
exercise that I could get on board with.
yeah, all weekend long, it's I believe it's free showings of the movie at the
Oh,
theater all weekend.
Oh, I
I
fun.
love
think.
that.
All right,
I
Tater
mean, even
Tots, we gotta
still,
go.
like, if it's $6 to go see a movie,
Mhm.
yeah,
It's crazy and I that maybe the pricing's a little bit higher now. I don't know,
again,
but
even if it's 10.
it's very
Yeah.
reasonable. Very reasonable.
Oh,
Yeah.
now I have to mention Chris Elliott, who plays Larry. Otherwise, I'll have
Larry.
my like Canadian card revoked
Yeah.
because he is also in Schitt's Creek. He plays the
Yes.
mayor in Schitt's Creek,
He
and
does.
he is a phenomenal actor. He's very funny. He is funny in this, even though it's a smaller part, but his delivery is great, and we love Chris Elliott. So
Yeah.
I had to be like, and he looks the same. Like his mannerisms, he hasn't aged. He just kind of is still just Larry.
It
Yeah,
it
I
took me a
remember Chris
moment.
Elliott
I was like,
early
who
days
do I
on
know?
David Letterman.
Yeah. Oh
You know,
yeah.
he was on Letterman all the time,
Yeah.
and I remember him from that. I'm thinking Groundhog Day may have been one of his early movies. I'll have to pull up IMDb and see, but yeah, you're right. Quite a bit younger in it.
And
Yeah, it
he
did.
is, I believe he is an American actor, but Schitt's Creek is a Canadian show. It's our gem,
It's
our
an amazing
national
show.
treasure. Yeah,
It
I
took
mean,
off in the
Yeah.
States too. Yeah.
everybody loves the show. It healed many hurts during the lockdown. So we love to share with everybody, but I just had to be like, I have to mention Schitt's Creek every time I get the chance.
I'll have to bring my Schitt's Creek pop vinyls onto the show next time.
We love the levies.
All right, we're gonna have
The
to
Dan and the
grab some pop
Eugenes.
vinyls from from your wife's store. That'll be our next.
I have one. I have Boba Fett.
Oh, there you go. That's a
Ooh,
good one.
ooh,
That's a
nice.
good one.
Yes, I have the Fett.
I love it. Well, I know we are nearing the end of our time, which always blows my mind. But I want to go to our
Bummer.
last clip because we do have the mural, which is just astounding.
Ooh,
I did a shorter clip
yeah.
this time, so if you we will release the full walkthrough video so you can take a full
Yes.
walk down, walk through the town with us. But here is the mural.
And here is the mural.
Oh, fun! What a great job they did with it.
So this is 2017. They did this.
I love a mural.
Wow, the artist did a
And
really good job.
Yeah.
they did an amazing job. And it really not only showcases Groundhog Day, but much of the other things that Woodstock is
Yeah.
famous for. I'll show you
That's
that as well.
fantastic.
Really cool. Woodstock Willie.
Of course, Woodstock
That's
Willie,
Woodstock
rock
Willie.
star.
He was designed by a newspaper editorial artist named
Oh,
Jim
fun.
Pearson.
I like
Jim
him.
has-
He's so cute.
He's very cute, yeah. And then we get from Groundhog Day, we go to Orson Welles.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, Citizen Kane? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, right. Orson Welles went to school here.
He went to school here.
Wow.
I love him.
Beautiful
He's such a
work.
crazy guy.
Yeah.
I
He has said
adore
that he
him.
always considered Woodstock home, even though he only lived here for a short period of time as a young
Yeah.
boy.
Huh.
He always considered Woodstock home, and that's why he brought his theater company here.
That mural is incredible. And as I said, it does go on even further and includes some just like astoundingly cool stuff. So we will have to tease and release those videos so that you can catch up if you're interested in seeing the full tour of Woodstock. And again, Groundhog Day deserves the episode to just recur year after year. So we're just going to force Mike to keep coming back.
Yeah. We'll just add a little more footage every year.
There you go. That'd be awesome.
It could be a running bit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we have gotten to the time where our live studio audience who hang out with us can drop in their ratings. It looks like most of you have seen this. So if you have seen this and you want to rate it, feel free to drop your ratings in. If you haven't seen this, but we've convinced you, you can drop in like how much we've convinced you. That can be your rating. Josh is reminding us that he also played Lily's dad in How I Met Your Mother and the snowplow driver in
that's right.
Snow Day, which I actually just recently rewatched with my kids. That's a fun one. So yeah, it took me a minute to recognize him. I was like, wait, where have I seen this guy? Where have I seen this guy?
Chris Elliott.
Looks like, Chris Elliott. He's the best. Looks like Paul is rating in, what are these? Little cars? Little trucks maybe? I gotta make this
the
bigger.
trucks that he Thelma and Louise's him.
Oh
and
yeah, he made
Phil and Phil.
the Thelma and Louise trucks. Josh has got five groundhogs. I know there should be a groundhog emoji. It's a crime that there is not a groundhog emoji.
Well, I'm sure if there's a hamster, they kind of look the same. Just one's much bigger.
Val
They're
is
really cute.
Val is giving us an A+ for the convince rating. And Doc is claiming that beavers are close enough to groundhogs. I don't know, but five pretend groundhogs.
I find in my actual real life experience, beavers are much more vicious.
Beavers
You
are more
don't want to
vicious,
mess with them.
yeah.
They're also dickheads. I say that
Well,
again. Don't come
To be
across
fair to
beavers.
Doc, I sent you guys a hedgehog emoji the other day because I couldn't find a groundhog. So
Hedgehogs.
I figured if it had hog in the name, it was okay.
Close enough.
Yeah,
Just
there
a
you
mini
go.
one.
Yeah, hedgehogs are beavers. Kathy's coming in with 4. Also choosing beavers. Paul said that it's supposed to be 5 red pickups. I know. Well, YouTube has
Yes.
failed us. They're blue, but we'll pretend they're red. For our listeners, they're red. We saw them completely as red. That is what happened. Well, let's. We need a drum roll sound effect. We'll have to add that to our list. But pretend drum roll. Here is our rating. We are at 4 Christian Taters. As you know, if you watch this show and have been with us for the last 80 episodes, we got a little aggressive with rating everything 5 potatoes. So now we're trying to be a little bit better. So we're coming in at
Well, now
4.
everything's 4.
Now
so,
everything's 4.
uh,
Yeah, we've just dropped down a level. Now everything's 4. What do you think, Mike? 4, 5, 3, 2? Where you at? Don't say 1. I'll cry.
Well, I'll say 4.5.
Okay, 4.5. All right.
That's fair.
All right.
That's fair.
How about that?
All right. We
It's
can
a very good movie. It still stands.
There we
It
go.
doesn't need to change, you know?
we'll add half in real time. So we will rate this as 4.5. Yeah,
I like it.
it did well in the box office. It continues to be added to like a number of different lists. It's on like almost all of the major lists. So yeah, this one holds up. This one holds up. I actually like, other than maybe the suicide scenes, which are not ideal, I feel like I could play this one for the kids. I feel like this is like family-ish. I guess there's a couple of like
I mean,
make
it
out
does
scenes,
kind
but
of imply like he does have depression at some point, very obviously.
yeah.
But it does also imply the suicide was more to try and break the cycle than he's just wants to be dead, you
Yeah.
know? So it's not,
Right.
It's a weird way, but they
It's thought
somehow frame it
it's
as not like
thought-provoking.
clinical depression.
I feel like it's I feel
Yeah.
like it's thought provoking. It would
Yeah.
facilitate discussion. So I'm on board. I feel like
Yeah.
like 13-year-olds and 10-year-olds can probably handle it, but we'll see.
Kids,
I mean,
don't
we
play
did.
with toasters in the
Yeah, don't
bathtub.
play with toasters.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's terrible? My first thought when he grabs the toaster and goes up to that gorgeous clawfoot tub, I was like, "Ah, don't wreck that tub."
It's okay. It resets at 6 a.m.
Because
It's fine.
I know it. I've seen it before. I know it's gonna reset. I wasn't actually like, your life is not worth taking in this tub.
But a little bit. Let's be
But
honest.
I
You
was
were
like,
thinking that a
you're
little bit.
gonna ruin the enamel of the tub.
That Kathy is raising a good point.
That's
It
your
does have
concern.
some creepy Me Too moments. He is definitely a jackass for a decent.
Oh yeah.
decent amount.
Like yeah, Katie's like, yeah, he was a jackass. I'm like, and a sexist misogynist. I'm like, maybe I won't. Like, I
Yeah.
just need to let it go because I know he redeemed himself, and
He
it does
does.
take him about 60 years to grow
He
up in this
evolves.
movie,
He
but
evolves.
he evolves.
He does evolve.
Yeah.
He does evolve. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Is like me. I don't remember any of the like inappropriate movie moments. Like I often will start playing a movie for
Yeah.
my family, and I'm like, well, this wasn't
Like,
appropriate.
oh,
I need to double check
pause.
things before I hit play.
It's a hero's journey.
It's a hero's journey.
Yes,
Yeah.
It is.
it
a
is.
hero's
I
journey.
mean, Hercules went through it.
Yep.
Like, it's that same classic story.
Exactly. Exactly.
Just framed in in the 90s.
Well, thank you so much, Mike, not only for coming on, but for being our first guest that actually did a bonus recorded episode so we could take a tour of the
Yeah.
town. That was so fun. And we are absolutely going to play the entire recording for you all. At some point, we'll add it into our YouTube channel, which you can find by searching for the VHS Club podcast. We are on YouTube, obviously, at 80 episodes and some preposterous amount of video clips around. So lots of content for you to check out. And also, we just ran our first ever giveaway. So huge congratulations to Chance. I haven't seen Chance in the chat tonight, but I did email Chance, so I think we're okay. But if
We're
you
also not on most Thursdays today. We are
Yeah,
definitely on a
we're
Wednesday.
definitely on a Wednesday
so
today.
it's not a regular.
But Chance won a coffee mug, a VHS Club coffee mug.
Ooh.
We also are sending one to Mike. So congratulations to you both for getting a coffee mug. And if you want to get in on some giveaways, you got to make sure that you're signed up for our email list, which you can do by going to thevhsclubpod.com/newsletter. That will sign you up for our newsletter. We are not spammers. We have no time for that. So we only send one email a week, just letting you know about the episode and what we have planned. But it does give you a chance to win some fun stuff and hear some behind the scenes from us. So thank you to everyone who signed up, and congrats to Chance, and congrats to Mike, who gets one for just being awesome and hanging out with us today.
Well, that's amazingly awesome because I will use it.
Yes.
Yay.
Awesome. And we will be in touch about purchasing some fine
Oh,
Groundhog Day merch
wait.
from you.
I have one last important thing.
Go for
Mike,
it.
can you tell us about your wife's shop and
Yes.
what it's called and where it is?
Yes, we need a quick plug. So if you're
Oh.
going to be in Woodstock because you're a
Yeah.
tater tot and you now need to visit like the rest of us,
Yeah.
then you need to check out Mike's wife's shop.
On the tour, he took us to the shop, and I'm obsessed. So you guys need to know about it.
The cell connection broke up a little bit while we were in the store, but
Yeah.
and I guess I'll just pre-apologize for the AirPod sound. Man, I could hear you guys clearly. There was no indication that the sound was
wasn't-
breaking up.
I don't think it was that bad. You were on location. We're
Wireless
fine.
does that
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Anyway, yes, if I'm going to plug anything, my wife's shop would be the ideal thing to plug.
Good.
And
Yeah.
she is on the Woodstock Square and has been there for now 7 years. I think we're getting close to 8 years
Awesome.
that she's been there, and it's called Anime and Things. And it's just a fantastic family-friendly shop. We sell tons of hey, look at that.
Yep,
That's
on
pretty
screen.
awesome,
Name
yeah.
of the shop.
Amazingly, it's animeandthings.com.
There you
We
go,
do.
there you
I
go.
showed you guys the map. We do ship
Yes.
pretty much anywhere within the U.S. And if you're outside the U.S., just contact us and we'll figure out how to get it to
They
you.
even
But,
ship to Nunavut, guys.
Yeah,
that
we
is
were
like
impressed.
the great white north up in
We
Canada.
did.
So
we did,
yeah,
and
they do
just
shipping.
shipped something to Sweden too. Yeah,
Incredible. I think Sweden is closer than Nunavut. Just from where
it
I
might
am,
be.
being
It,
in
ma- it
Canada, Sweden is closer than that part of Canada. Wild. So yeah,
yeah.
check it out.
Thank you. That was awesome of you to let me do that. But yeah, she and my daughter run it, and they just do an amazing job, and super proud of them. They do a great job with that show.
Oh, well,
They have great merch.
it was a beautiful
Great
shop.
stock. Yeah.
Well, and we should also let you
you.
plug your stuff, and you are a content creator and you run an amazing event. So give us a little bit of background on where we can find you and how we can connect.
Well, so I run this event called MacStock. Yeah, so I'm always wearing my MacStock hat. So MacStock Conference is something that takes place every summer. I've been hosting folks who use and enjoy Apple products since 2015.
That's awesome.
So we are now in our 10th year. We had a little break with COVID there, but we still did some virtual MacStocks. And yeah, this is going to actually be MacStock 9, the 9th in-person MacStock this summer, this July. And the website's going to be launched. Well, the website is up, but the ticket sales are going to launch soon. But it's mac.conferenceandexpo.com, and just have a blast with it. We're up to 3 days of just community, fun, learning, pretty much anything you can think of. We have just a fantastic time, and there was a horrible promotional pitch on my part, but
We will- we will
check it out.
post
just an awesome event.
the link.
I enjoy putting it on so much. The educational aspect of it is, what I love the most about it, but folks really enjoy the community too, and getting to see friends that they don't get to see all the time. Getting to see people in person.
Yeah,
So
it's a big deal, and Doc
it's a great event.
is absolutely nailing it. So you came right in after Macworld ended. So you are saving the day. All of our Apple loving hearts. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Doc. Yeah, that's kind of what happened. I mean, I know we're trying to end here, but that's kind of what happened. A friend of mine, Barry, wanted to get folks together that he wasn't going to see anymore because Macworld had folded, and he decided to throw a barbecue in his backyard. Well, I had this idea for MacStock back in 2009, and he was doing this in 2015. And I said, "Hey, Barry, this idea I had for, a little small conference. I expected it to be a get together for people who listen to my podcast. Okay, that's what I really expected it to be." And he invited all these amazing people to his barbecue. And I said, "There's a presenter list right there, Barry. Let's reach out to them and see if I can do this MacStock thing. You can do your barbecue." And the very first MacStock was a one-day event, and I knew we were on to something good when at the end of that day, I had several people come up to me and say, "When is the next one?"
Always a good sign.
Fantastic.
Always a good.
And
sign.
here we are 10 years later. So
It's crazy.
Well, congrats. And I hope some of our listeners get to go this year. And that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you.
July
so
11th through
much.
13th.
July 11th
Yeah.
through 13th.
Good time of year.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well,
And they can visit Woodstock.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a win-win, really. I mean, all the way
Crossing
across.
events.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much to Mike. Thanks, Nat, for putting up with me for 80 episodes, and all of you for hanging out with us. We dropped also the link for our newsletter into the chat. But if you're listening, you swing over to the VHS Club pod.com, and then /newsletter is what will get you that sign up. And we will see you. So we're still on a Wednesday schedule for the next few weeks, and then we'll be back to our mostly Thursdays. So so the next episode we are doing Contact with Dane. So I've tricked my husband into coming on. And then the following week, we're doing Ghostbusters. And then we have some other fun episodes coming up for you in March. So yeah, be sure to hang out with us, and we will see you all next time. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Nat.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Katie and Nat, walking the scene